welcome back. YouTube, what it do? What it do? What's up? We back with another one. This is part 2 of Detroit street legend Butch Jones. I'm gonna wait a few minutes, see if we get some people in the room. I gotta let you go because I need this phone. All right, homie, I'll call you. Come on in.
I'm trying to find it.
Well, if you type in my name, you see that I'm live. Just hit the live button. Okay.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just waiting to see if I can get some others in the room. Mm. So as we know that Bush Jones, and I have to, I was wrong. He was not the founder of YBI. Wonderful Wayne was a co-founder along with shit. I can't think of the other person's name, but he passed January 8th, 2026. They did have his funeral at Fisher Funeral Home in Southfield, and that was on February, hold on, February 5th. Let me see. Yep, they had it February 5th, and I don't know anyone that went to his funeral, so we just doing a recap, going down memory lane, just remembering street legend Butch Jones. I wanted to put Best Friends in on this. That was the Hitman group, and then along with Nate Boone Craft, who was part of Best Friends. And when they killed, and then that's going to take me on to Maserati Rick, when Best Friends took out Maserati Rick at the Henry Ford Hospital. But let me see. Yep, he died around, January. He was 70. And when I think about it, when you go back into that time, I said, wow, he was 70 years old. Wow. And they say he was ruthless. I mean, he had just got out of prison after serving 30 years out of federal prison. He was known as the Henry Ford of heroin. JW, what's up? Cause you crazy. Why you keep fucking with me? JW, why do you keep fucking with me? I ain't bothering you. So he revolutionized the Detroit drug trade by using teenagers to traffic narcotics. Oh, you got a crush on me? You don't even know me. I have an Instagram. My Instagram is Agena, Agena 518 or 0518 on my Instagram. I guess I should probably start putting my Instagram on here, y'all. I know that attitude. I don't even have an attitude yet. I have a Detroit attitude. That's what's up. Okay? Now, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, I yelled and cussed at you yesterday. Well, you back. You must want some more. Well, you must have did something. You must have said something that made me upset yesterday. Right. I remember your name because I remember you kept messing with me. Well, you back. I just gave you my Instagram, Agena, Agena 518. Hit me up. All right. Now, let's get back into street legend Butch Jones. This is part two. I want to keep this as low as probably gonna be a part three because I gotta add best friends. I'm gonna do this all. Slide into that D. You crazy. You know what? And I love Al Prophet. He be breaking this stuff down. So let's get into Al Prophet.
This is a photo of D'Angelo Martin. And he is doing a very long time in Michigan State Prison for being a serial rapist and red rummer. So he just got sentenced in 2022. His earliest parole date is 2064. What does this have? What does he have to do with Butch Jones?
Right.
Well, so Butch Jones is out. He's been released. He's in Detroit. I get at a halfway house or something. Any glamorization of Young Boys Incorporated, this should end that, because it's really nothing to glamorize. I've interviewed many people associated with it. A lot of dark events around it.
Hold
Not
on.
for everybody, but certainly with Mr. Jones. Now, what does this serial killer have to do with
Right.
it?
What that got to do with it?
Mother. I'm looking at her state of Michigan Court of Appeals right now. Shantrinas Cascello Barker. Here's her picture. She's doing life in prison. In 1998, one of the crimes Butch Jones was convicted of in 2000 or whatever was the kidnapping and attempted extortion of Antoine Carruthers. This guy's mother, this woman, in
Wow.
1998. Let me read this here.
He looked like a madman, don't he?
In the case of suspected serial killer D'Angelo Martin, multiple sources say he's also linked to the case of a woman found strangled in February last year.
7 Action reporter Kimberly Craig joins us live with the surprising information about Martin's own mother. Kim?
That's correct, Alan. In 1999, D'Angelo Martin's mother was convicted of a number of crimes, including kidnapping and murder. And recently, relatives told her that police suspect her son is a serial killer. And this was her reaction.
Of course she's stunned. I mean, that's her son. You know, that's her baby. I know she's shocked about all of it.
This is the mother of 34-year-old D'Angelo Martin. She's 52-year-old Shantanese Barker. And when D'Angelo Martin was just 14 years old, Barker was sentenced to life in prison for murder. Now her son is suspected of the...
Damn, like mama, like son, I guess. Or like son, like mother. Wow.
Detroit police have identified D'Angelo Martin as a suspected serial killer. His alleged victims include 52-year-old Nancy Harrison.
In the fall of 1998, Jones arranged for Coffee, Jackson, Henderson, Davis, and another individual to kidnap Jones's rival drug dealer, Antoine Carruthers, because people, quote, would pay a lot for Carruthers' return. Jones's crew kidnapped Carruthers, handcuffing him, placing him in a van, stealing his money and jewelry. They took Carruthers to a home where they tied him up in a basement, guarded Carruthers with a bayonet with an attached an AK-47. When Carruthers refused to give up the contact info of his criminal associate, Henderson, Carruthers with the bayonet, Carruthers was allowed to call his girlfriend. He told her that Jones's crew was going to kill him if she did not get the money. The girlfriend relayed this info to Carruthers' mother, who in turn contacted the Detroit police. Jones demanded $100,000 as a ransom for Carruthers, and negotiations for a drop-off point took place. Jackson banged Carruthers as negotiations for the ransom stalled. When Henderson told Jones they were not going to be able to get the ransom money for Carruthers, Jones instructed Henderson, you know what you got to do. Jones's crew dragged Carruthers into a car where they 3 times in the face.
Damn.
Jones entered a plea agreement and stipulated that from 95 to 01, he and his criminal associates distributed controlled substances involving more than 5 kilos of cocaine. First Step Act, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to get back to that. So the woman in the case, this woman, that was her house, was where Antoine Carruthers, Butch Jones's victim, was held during this torture, and her son grew up to be this serial killer. So
damn, that's the mama. He looked like a serial killer.
These stories, like, what is the point of me talking about this stuff? Understand, if you think you're going into the street to make money, or you're going to sell drugs, make money, a lot of people are not. Like, they say they're there for money, but they do all these other things that don't really have anything to do with money, like the extreme violence. So on May 12th, 2008, Judge John Corbett O'Meara sentenced Milton Butch Jones to 360 months of imprisonment. His sentence runs to June 2031. His anticipated release date is January 20th, 2027. So he got out. He's at the halfway house like 18 months earlier, whatever. They denied his motion for compassionate release for having COVID-19. They didn't want to. Blah blah blah. Court denies Jones's motion. They didn't let him out early. Jones has a lengthy. Now listen. Butch, if you think of Butch Jones as someone associated with getting money, he probably did briefly, like, well, Courtney Brown's friend that I've done the stories on, Mr. Holloway, has been in prison since 1985 for supposedly being called to Butch Jones's home, whereas after Butch was in prison, his wife caught somebody trying to break in supposedly to steal the $5 million that Butch Jones had accumulated. Now, Butch Jones, he was just one wing of YBI, but if you're even pulling in, I mean, if you're pocketing, they had all these spots doing $20,000, $40,000 a day. Now, there's a lot of people getting paid, and you had to buy the stuff and all that. But if Butch had a run if for 18 months, you just put 10,000 a day away. 10,000, not all this 100,000 a day. If Butch Jones pocketed himself 10,000 a day every day for 18 months, that's $5 million. So I could certainly believe he could have had $5 million. I mean, I don't know. So
they was getting money. They was getting money
to get out during the COVID thing. Mind you, he'd already done 20. I think he got locked up in 2000. And he was in the county fighting it because they were trying to give him a death penalty and all of that. He fought that case for years, I guess. Was he locked up for 8 years fighting that case? Wow. In 1973, Jones stabbed a man named Timothy Hinton, convicted for manslaughter. He talks about this in his doc. And I mean, Butch Jones, I'll give him this. He was that movie star criminal thing that some people have. That was him. Because I don't know how much of a he was a skillful enough gangster, but it was more so his personality. He talked people into doing stuff for him. And he put out that book. When he put that YBI book out.
I still got it. I still got the YBI book. I don't know where it is. I still got it.
In 96 or 7, when Butch Jones put out a book, this is long before anyone was doing DVDs. That Alpo Game Over thing, Alpo and Rich Porter, that documentary came out in maybe 05 or something, and then I put out Rolling.
Yep, that's the book.
Like 08, 09. Troy.
That's the book.
Ahead of me,
I think I read that book in 2 days.
With the Street Star stuff. That was 03 or 4, I think, or 2.
Okay, Al, you can go past this.
So Butch Jones was way ahead of that. He knew that these black gangster stories were fascinating and was a big deal, and it was a wide, now that's all anyone talks about. Butch Jones was way ahead. But the problem was Butch Jones was still involved with crime when he put that book out in here, and he even submitted for an interview. This is America's Black Journal, Detroit's Black Journal.
He did.
So this is a TV show. This is Butch Jones being interviewed in the late 90s or mid 90s.
Every day, the police was trying to bust me. So if I knew they was going to come on Monterey today, even if they was on Monterey, I'd say, when they come, y'all set up on Dwayne.
Oh, and I live like 3-4 blocks away on Sturtevant. Yes, and my sister was going with somebody. Damn, what was that nigga name? He dead now. Damn, I can't even think of his name. But anyway, he bought my sister a Thunderbird. Bought her a couple of cars while she was still in high school going to Central. Damn, what was his name? Anyway, that was my nephew's dad. Dwayne, them cars would be lined up on Dwayne, Monterey. Yes, I remember that.
On another street, slanging, while we watching them.
So in the cat and mouse game, you were winning at this time.
Yes.
And that was as much a rush as anything else.
Oh, man, you couldn't get no higher than that. Not only was I beating them, I'm getting money, and I'm saying, and I'm showing them, y'all can't catch me.
Although the Detroit police worked overtime to stop Young Boys Incorporated, Jones continued to elude local authorities. It took cooperation between the Detroit Police Department and federal agencies, primarily the DEA, to stop Jones.
On your 24-hour arrest report, you would see the same adults and juvenile names over and over again, and you started to see a pattern there. So what it took was a collaborative effort from our department, our narcotics division, and DEA, and we sat down and said, hey, look, there's more to this case than what this organization than what we really thought.
How do you put together a drug enterprise with that level of organization and kind of innovation? You are the man who basically wrote the modern textbook on urban drug running. Really? Aren't you?
Well, my input, my attributes to the organization was that I knew how things go. I knew the rules, and they was looking for direction. They needed somebody to tell them the rules. And the rules was, if you're going to slang, you can't do no telling. It's part of the police job to stop, rash you, pick you, or bust you if they can. You see what I'm saying? It's nothing personal with them. They doing what the taxpayers is paying them to do. We were really fighting several different fronts. So, there's something had to break. So, and we could not have done it without the effort with the feds, because they had the extra tools to help us. Young Boys became so sophisticated that we did have to rely upon not just information and search warrants. We did.
Oh, you from 7 Mile and Finline? Oh, okay. You on the east side. Who they slang to? They slang to everybody, to the dope fiends.
Federal grand jury. Jones escaped arrest until March 22nd, 1983, when he turned himself into federal authorities.
But mind you, this guy was still messing around, according to
He was
what he
still
pled guilty to.
slanging.
So he's convicted of manslaughter in 73, gets out, paroled in 78, violated his parole 4 times, went back into custody in 79, in 1980 absconded from supervision. Now, I have a lot of Butch Jones stories that people that were in YBI told me. I'm not going to get into those. If people want to tell them, I'm not really here to tell Butch Jones stories. It's just, to Glenn, the streets are very dangerous. Butch Jones was a dangerous for 4 years, 3.5 to 5 or something for that. Released from custody in 92 from the state of Michigan. So he did a couple years in the state of Michigan, and then he completed his parole in 94. Meanwhile, people like Kurt McGirt was locked up this whole time.
Right. And I remember when they captured Kurt McGirt, I said that on my first one. I was around the block. They had blocked off Dexter. They had blocked off everything. And I remember hearing, I was doing my hair. It was like, Kurt McGirt, we got the house surrounded. Come out with your hands up. I'm like, damn, they got Kurt McGirt. I remember that. Them was some good old times. Do you hear me?
For those of you not from Detroit or don't know the YBI story, there's too much I can't.
Okay, let me go past that because you need to get to the good.
Side he pled to. Jones' violence did not end.
Okay, we done with that one. Now we getting into what I got. I just love what's his name? Al Prophet. He be oh shit, that's the wrong one. Search. Oh no. Oh, here we go, Butch. Okay, here we go. This guy here, Skip. I went to school with his nephews, the Mongos, and their dad was like a business owner. We went to elementary school because I was staying downtown Detroit, and I was just surprised that he was a part of this. But we getting on to Wonderful Wayne, who was the co-founder of YBI, because previously I said that Bush Jones was, and I was wrong, so I had that wrong.
Hi, my name is Eddie Jackson Jr., and this is Real True Street Crime. I just want to give y'all a few moments to light y'all
Nah,
up
this is
from
Eddie
someone's
Jackson
Sunday
Jr. He was out
because
there.
I lost a day in the hospital and thought yesterday was Sunday. So I didn't understand that. Here's one question he answered for me. I always wondered why Butch Jones killed WW. Chestnut told the other day that him and WW went to kidnap Butch Jones' sister, and it was unsuccessful, and she went and told Butch, and Butch came back and shot Chestnut in the ass a few times.
Wow.
Now, the part, Chestnut, you left out, brother. What made WW want to kidnap Butch Jones' sister? Important part of the story, brother. Everybody want to know, including me, and you the only man can answer it. So we checking out Chestnut. We like him over there doing his thing. He told the whole story. Him and Wayne rolled up to kidnap her, tried to get her in the car, pull out the gun. She looked at him. Chestnut, you gonna do this to me, baby? You bet. I love the story Chestnut told. It had me in stitches and shit. So this is why I'm telling you all, check Chestnut out over there. He's giving you the real, answering the question. So one question he'd answer, I always wanted to know all my life, why did Butch Jones kill WW? Because WW and Chestnut tried to kidnap his sister.
Wow.
Now, why did WW
I never knew that. I never knew that.
Butch Jones' sister. So what was WW pissed off at that Butch Jones had did that he was willing to kidnap his sister? Understand what Chestnut is telling y'all and me and all of us. This is how WW got killed, because he went to kidnap Butch Jones' sister. One of another question answered, I've always wondered. One of the riddles answered from the young boy's story, Chestnut has answered. Now he got to tell us why was WW so mad at Butch Jones he would kidnap his sister and kill her if he could. Tell us that, Chestnut. And you've got to tell us how Butch and Block fell out and Butch ran Block out of town. That's another story in question. We all want to know and hear you tell, because only you can tell it. We didn't got the side of how Raymond people got killed because of the break-in at Butch Jones's house.
Wow.
Now I understand, thanks to Chestnut.
Yep, they found Raymond Peoples' body on the next couple blocks down from me on Sturtevant. Raymond Peoples, I'll never forget it.
Why WW got killed. Now I'm trying to figure out how he ran Block out of town and why. Why did Butch Jones and Block fall out? What was the event that had them two fall out and Butch wanting to kill Block? Understand that we got a real live young boy over there on his own network telling the story and I watch it myself. Check it out for all of you. Chestnut, a young boy, he got a book out, got all of that out. He entertains me, and I like the way he tells the story about the young boys.
Okay, well, that's enough of that one. Damn, well, I learned something from that. I can delete that. Okay, this is Chestnut. This is who he talking about. I this this is Chestnut. Who
It's
he
a great
talking about?
dynamic household. I mean, dad working well, your mom got a good job. This is the American dream. What led you to the streets?
Me getting bullied. Me getting bullied. So when I was going kiting, they was bullying me for 3 years straight. So I went to the teachers. The teachers, they wouldn't do nothing. I went to my daddy. He wouldn't do nothing. I said, I'm going home. My nose bloody, mouth bloody. I said, Daddy, teach me how to fight. Teach me how to fight. They jumping on me every day. They taking my lunch money every day. But he's like, he didn't care. And then my sister, like I said, she's 3 years older than me. So when I'm in elementary, she already in junior high school.
Right. And so you start getting bullied, and you get to middle school. That's now when you meet your real friends. Tell me who was the first one you ran into and you met?
Well, this how I went. When I was going, like I say, graduation from kiting,
Yeah.
they go to the summer before you go back to school, time to go back to junior high school, winter halter, right? So that summer before school,
Winter Halter was 2 blocks from me. It's on Broad Street, Sturtevant and Fuller. Nope, Sturtevant and Cortland. Yep.
At the kite swimming pool. In the neighborhood, we had a swimming pool in the neighborhood. And that's when the young guys, people go out there, swimming and really being bad up there.
Yeah.
So it was a guy named Clark Washington. When I started hanging out with Clark, he taught me how to fight. I found a brother. And he took me on Martindale. And when I went on Martindale, changed my whole life.
Oh, on Martindale, them dope things would be lined up early in the morning, and they was out there slanging dope like never before. It was New Jack City, for real, for real.
That's when I met Clark. That's when I met Raymond Peoples, David Coleman Young, and all them. That's when I met all them.
Gotcha. So, okay, so then at this time, like you say, in the streets, heroin, that boy is jumping.
Right.
When did you become aware that drugs is being sold around you?
Well, when I got on Martindale, everything started on Martindale.
Shit, you couldn't help but know it because them things was out there.
Back then, we called dope houses. Now they call it trap house.
Yeah.
So I'm hanging out in the trap house, I see what they selling. I'm really hanging out, smoking weed, drinking. Then they gave me some work. I started working in there. And that's when I realized what I was selling: weed and heroin.
Could you tell, like, at that time, what type of people was, like, taking heroin? Like, because, like, you see crackheads, I hate to call them crackheads, but you see people like that, like, crackheads took executives, people who had great jobs and brought them to the very low. But at that time, neighborhoods are still nice, so who was doing heroin? Was it your professionals doing it?
Well, you had professionals, the average person doing it, going to Chrysler,
Yeah.
Basically people going who working.
Mm-hmm.
Then they fell off because they couldn't work no more because they get high.
Right.
So basically, I would say middle age, about 25 to 35, about 25 on up, 35 on up.
Got you.
It wasn't no young. It wasn't nobody young doing it. You had to be I'd say about 25 in that area.
Okay. So during that time, people say that Eddie Jackson was pretty much the drug heroin kingpin at that. Let's get into the young boy story. So here it is, you're on Martindale, right? You working in the trap house. At this time, or the dope house, at this time, is this Young Boy Incorporated already established?
No, we didn't have a name then.
Okay.
We didn't have a name then.
So who put you on when it came to the dope?
I would say Block.
Block. Okay. And so Block has a big part of your story. How did you come to meet Block?
Well, like I said, I was going to Winter Halter, right?
Okay.
And our friends like me.
My sister went to Winter Halter.
Friends like Devon, Clay, And so I met Devon Clay was the hangout house on Tuxedo. So when I'm over there one day hanging out over the Vern Clay house when our lady friends, Block was going with her sister. So when I'm already bad on Martindale. I'm already turned from a bully, now I'm turned to nut. I'm hanging out with Raymond on Martindale. I ain't on Monterey yet. I didn't meet Bush them people yet.
Okay.
So I'm still bad. So at this time, Block come over to Vern house to see her sister Bobby Ann. So when Block came over, me, Wayne Bowman, and Chuck, like I said, we hanging out over there, smoking weed, drinking. It's the hangout house. So when he come in, he kind of tall, look gumpy like. So when he came in, I'm like, who this big gumpy motherfucker walking through here? Right? So he turned around, you talking to me? I said, yeah, I'm talking to you. Hey, who the fuck is you walking through here? He said, oh, you young motherfucker, man, I'll see you when I come out from seeing my girl. So when he went in there to see his girl, I ain't never seen Wayne Ballman and Chuck scared before. We done jumped through motherfuckers all through the neighborhood, all Martindale, all through Dex. We doing that shit, being bad. I ain't never seen them scared, never. But at this time, they scared. They said, man, you know what that is? That's Black. He didn't want to be on the newspaper. He killed his people. I don't want the newspaper that keep on killing his people. Black got fame for killing his people, right?
Yeah.
His mother, his stepmother, his father nursing the maid to get the insurance money. This allegedly.
Damn.
So he
Damn.
went to trial 3 times and beat the case.
Damn.
So he got the money, and his mama got the money, and his sister got the money. You know, the big ass insurance. Like I say, the people accused his stepdaddy, real daddy, stepmother, and nursing the maid, or that nature. Damn. So he got all that money. That's how he got famous in the neighborhood. So like I say, so when he walked through, I said, who is this motherfucker walking through here? And so when I see Wayne Bowman and Chuck and Laverne, them, I was scared, man. You know who that is? He a killer. That's a gangster all through the neighborhood. He the one, he a godfather all through the neighborhood. You gonna get us killed. You gonna get us killed. I said, what? So I'm getting scared now. I never seen them scared, right? You know what I'm saying? So when they get scared, I get scared. So when he come back out, he said, young man, you talking to me? I said, I had to keep my fronts up. I said, I'm talking to you. So when he walked past me, he walked past and stole me. But he didn't hit me for real with his shoulder, right? And he knocked me down and got on top of me. And get him off me, man. I'm scared now. So when he let me up, he's like, man, when he let me up, he said, man, it's a Cadillac outside, get in it. I said, man, ain't no Cadillac. He said, young motherfucker's a Cadillac outside, get in it. I'll be out in a minute. Get your ass in the car. So he went back to Bobby Ann, right, his girlfriend, Chuck and all them, and Wayne Bone, that was special WW. Don't get in the car, no, he gonna kill you, man. They about to cry. And Laverne all, man, you get in the car, we gonna see them, he gonna kill you. No, I said, what? I'm getting in the car, motherfucker. This a plug. This a motherfucking plug. So I got in the car. They was kind of like I got in the car. So he asked me, man, when he came out the house, he was sharp as hell. I'm not realizing when he got on, right? He got a Bossellini on. He got a
Oh, I love the man with a Bossellini hat.
So when he got in the car, and he in the Cadillac. So he got in the car, we rode downtown to the show. You know, downtown had a whole bunch of theaters, like the Fox Theater, the Palm Theater. So he took me to the movie, right, to see some gangster movie. And at that moment, he was teaching me the game. You know, he was teaching me we got to be loyal to each other. He said, no, we got to be loyal to each other. You know, my best friend is Butch Jones. When we leave here, we go meet his people. We go to his family house and meet his people. He said, this is what we do. One of us get locked up, you buy him, when he come home, you buy him a car, you give him some money, you move him in your house. This is what we do for each other. This is how we got to do it now.
That's a fact. That's a fact. That's how they did it.
Because you got a lot of heart. He said, can you stay all night? I've been running from home anyway. I said, yeah, I can stay all night. And that's when he took me over to meet the Joneses. And from that moment on, my whole life changed.
Got you. So Block was that guy, and Block was what, 4 years, 5 years?
Wow. Now that was a good story. Wow. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh, I hit the wrong. Oh. Damn, they removed that story. This is beyond the fame.
Doug.
Thanks for coming in to talk about Doug Jr.
Of course. Third grade is when I learned Liberty Mutual could save you hundreds.
Decided to go out and get it himself. He started small time, just skipping school, just doing little mischievous acts. But over time, he started to rob taxi cab drivers. Eventually, he would begin to work for his brother-in-law, selling small amounts of heroin, just learning the game, and getting deeper into the street life. By the age of 16, he already had 2 murders. One while guarding a drug house. A man broke in and he hit him with a shotgun, killing him. And the other one was a paid hit. One day, a man that he knew from his neighborhood, that knew that he was trained to go, came to a young Butch Jones with a proposition, $20,000 for a hit. And when he heard the amount, Butch said, "You must want me to kill the president." But it was on a rival drug dealer who had moved into this guy's territory, and he wanted him gone. And when he told Butch, the man he wanted hit, Butch knew that if he was gonna go at him, he better not miss, because this guy had a very fierce reputation. He studied the man for about 2 weeks, learning his habits and his routine. Something that he noticed is that the man would take the trash out every day at the same time, and this would be the perfect opportunity to catch him slipping. He hid in a dumpster with a shotgun, waiting for the moment that his victim would come outside and take the trash out, as he had did so many mornings before. But this morning would be his last, and as he opened his dumpster to take the trash out, it was a shotgun waiting for him. And according to Butch Jones, he made eye contact with the man, and he could tell by the look on his face that he knew he messed up, and it was over. On a hot summer day in 1973, Butch Jones was sitting on his porch, just chilling, and he was approached by a woman that he knew named Kathy, who was the sister of his right-hand man, Leroy, and she had just told him how she got robbed, and Butch wasn't gonna let this slide. So him, a few of his guys, and Kathy went over to a spot that they thought the dudes who robbed her would be at, some apartments right off of Richton and Hamilton. And when they knocked
Richton and Hamilton. That's that corner. That building's still there on Richton and Hamilton. That apartment building's still there. Surely is.
And they all just bust in, asking where the guys who robbed Kathy and where's the money. But the woman was telling them nobody's here. It was just her child, and another man who was sitting on the couch. Butch told his 2 homeboys that he had brought with him to go search the rooms for the money. And as they were searching, the man on the couch, he stood up. And according to Butch, he started to try to do all of these different karate moves on him. And Butch was telling him, "Yo, man, back up. We just here to get the money and we gonna leave. We not here to hurt you." But the guy just kept coming at him with the karate moves. And eventually, Butch shot him in the leg to stop him. And when he shot him, one of the men that he brought with him came out of the room and just started stabbing the dude repeatedly. He tried to attack the mother and the child that was there as well, but Butch Jones wouldn't let him, and they got up out of there. The man who was stabbed in the apartment would later die from his wounds, and Butch and his crew would be apprehended and charged with murder. They were trying to give him life in prison, and it wasn't looking good. The only thing that saved him was the testimony of the young woman who was in the home with her child, who testified that Butch did save him when his accomplice tried to attack her and her kid with a knife. The charges would be reduced from murder to manslaughter, and Butch would be sentenced to 7 years in prison. But while Butch was away, something was happening in the streets of Detroit that would forever change the city. And it was happening right on Dexter. In late 1976,
Dexter and Dwayne.
77, a group of young kids.
I remember them nigga neck. My sister was going with Joe Smelly. That was his name on Dwayne and Dexter. That's who it was. And that's who my nephew daddy is. Yep. And he right there on Dwayne. Yep.
They're legendary. Mark Block Marshall, Bernard Boykins, a.k.a. Bone Man, Reginald Chestnut, a.k.a. Nut, even though he went to jail as the crew was being formed, Chuck Lindsay, a.k.a. Choicey Chuck, Dwayne Davis, also known as WW, or Wonderful Wayne, Raymond Peoples.
Do you have an inherited property you need to sell fast?
Wow, this
and you're
brings
not
back
sure where
so
to even
many
begin?
memories.
You're definitely not the only one. It can get...
Also known as Baby Ray, will become an original member of the crew as well, after he came home from beating a murder charge that he had caught during the Illinois riots. And this gave him a lot of fame and notoriety around the city. Another member of the crew, who was more infamous than famous, was Mark Block Marshall, who was known for being a straight-up killer in the streets and for having a lot of money. But it's said that that money came from a very dark and bloody place.
Right, because he killed his family for the insurance money.
1974.
Yep, and I'm going to go past that.
Ellen Elmhurst, John R. and Ursi.
Ooh, ooh.
It was the young kids that were making it happen.
Yep.
It was the runners. They were rolling. And they would do it in style.
Yep.
Max Julian jackets, campaign hats with the top 10s. They would spend a lot of time.
Man, I love them hats. I love them hats. I love them top 10s. Ooh, they used to just, ooh. And I love them hats. All them had Mercedes. They was 15, 16, 17.
Hanging out on Martindale, where you could see flashy cars going up and down the street.
I just told y'all that.
They loved Cadillacs, Benzes, and especially Corvettes.
Yep.
They were superstars everywhere that they would go, and some even signed autographs. There are stories of kids pulling up to middle school in limousines, young teens
going Palmer Park,
buying suites at the Renaissance for weeks at a time, kids hiding hundreds of thousands of dollars in their parents' homes, and 15-year-olds going to auto dealerships and buying cars cash right off the lot.
Facts.
The same way that Magic Johnson would influence a generation of early 80s kids to entertain with basketball and ball on the court is the same way that the YBI would influence a generation of Detroit kids to entertain in the hood and ball in the streets.
Facts.
So yes, I idolized Magic, Deion Sanders, Muhammad Ali. But as a youngster in Detroit, I also idolized Young Boys Incorporated. They were legendary at that very moment. YBI was the shit.
YBI meant everything, man. That's what a nigga wanted to be. Them niggas was rich, they was successful, they had all the hoes, they had all the money, all the cars. Who didn't want to be that, man?
Dr. Carl Taylor, who wrote the book Dangerous Society, about growing up in inner city America as a young black boy and the rise of teenage drug gangs, he recalled a situation that he had with YBI when he was working security at Cobo Hall. And he said during that situation, he noticed one of the guys had a big gold medallion, the shape of the United States, but it only had one diamond in it. And he said he seen that same guy about 9 months later, and that medallion was filled with diamonds. And somebody that he knew had to explain to him the diamonds represent each state that they're strong in, where they're getting money. They would give their products standout names to catch customers' attention. They had the Whippersnapper, the Firecracker, the Uchi Khan. Butch Jones even had a heroin brand that he named Checkmate to pay respect for his love of the game of chess. And the money was coming in fast. According to Butch Jones' son, he said he remembers being a kid and his dad coming home at night with big trash bags full of money. And he would
I remember that shit too. I remember that shit too.
All of the small bills. They were getting money in a lot of different places in the city. And if they wanted a block, it was probably gonna be theirs. First, they would call in a wrecking crew and come through with baseball bats, beating down anybody.
Damn, I remember the Wrecking Crew. Damn, this bringing back memories, y'all. I remember the damn Wrecking Crew. Sure did.
Who was on the corner that they wanted. And
hey, Mason. Hey.
They would call up the A-Team, a crew of...
Oh, I remember the A-Team. The A-Team was still the hit squad, but that was before Best Friends. Oh, this done brought back memories.
Jones. And they were led by a young man who was only 16 years old, but he had already grown a reputation in the city for putting the murder game down. And his name was Kurt McGirt.
Let him know who you is, bro.
Kurt McGurk home. Like I said earlier, I remember when they captured him. I was at home. They blocked off the whole street. This him.
YBI's finest, nigga.
But even though the YBI had a very violent reputation and was known for murder, not everybody in the city was bowing down. A man named Leroy Gunn and his brothers decided to start their own crew to rival the YBI, and they would call themselves Pony Down. They copied the YBI blueprint and grew to equal size and power within the city. It's said that they would go into YBI territory and graffiti "I Pony Down" on the walls.
Yes,
as
they
a sign
did.
Of disrespect.
Yes, they did. Pony Down was off 14th Street.
Shootouts and fights, and it got so bad that respected Detroit hustler Doc Davis had to step in. Doc Davis had international drug connections, and he was one of the main suppliers for both of the crews. He seen how much they were warring against each other, and he knew that that wasn't gonna bring nothing but heat from law enforcement. He wanted to sit both sides down and explain to them, this isn't about ego or who's the toughest. This game is about money, not murder. They tried to come up with a compromise by doing best bag wins, meaning that different crews can be on the same block, and whoever has the best product, they'll win out, and it ain't no bloodshed or violence behind it. But the bloodshed would continue, and the YBI would keep looking to expand. They would try to take over the block of a well-known Detroit gangster by the name of Layden the Beast Simon. He was running some apartments, and he was getting a lot of money. And he said one day, the YBI just showed up, over 100 deep, and tried to take it over. He said he was surprised by this move because him and Butch Jones, they knew of each other. And he said Butch Jones knew that he wasn't to be played with at all. According to Landon the Beast Simon, he had a strong team with him, along with some Mexican homies that he knew. And they would go to war with the YBI. He would later be portrayed in the 50 Cent TV show, BMF, as the character Lamar Silas, a psychopathic gangster obsessed with maintaining his territory and displacing the Detroit drug gang.
Damn, he was cute. Ooh.
And the back and forth between them and the beefing with crews.
Look at Butch Jones with Jesse Jackson.
From law enforcement.
Look, he was with Butch Jones with Jesse Jackson.
At this point, you're probably not avoiding therapy because of stigma. You're
It's gonna be it. I was gonna do. I gotta do a celebrity.
So good.
I guess I'll do that tomorrow.
How heavy everything feels. As a
the moves that he was making in Boston. Butch Jones and Wonderful Wayne would continue to have a back and forth beef, but the violence would escalate because one night, WW and Reginald Chestnut, aka Nut, they were riding down Monterey looking for Butch Jones or anybody in his crew. And as they were driving around, they happened to see Butch Jones' sister, Lynette, leaving his mom's house, headed to a store on Dexter. According to Nut, they pulled alongside of her as she was walking, and he said, "Hey, what's up, Nut?" And she said, "Hey, what's going on, Nut?" Because she knew him since he was a little kid. She helped to raise him. But then he told her to get in the car. And after she looked confused, he pulled out a gun and said, "Lynette, get your ass in the car." And she just looked at Reggie and said, "You gonna do this to me? I helped raise you." And he had a moment of clarity. He knew that this woman had known him all his life. And he told Wayne to just drive off. But the damage had already been done. He tried to kidnap Butch Jones' sister in front of his mom's house. Reginald Chestnut would be shot by members of Butch Jones' crew behind this attempted kidnapping, although he would survive. But in September of 1982, while walking on the corners of Columbus and Lawton on Detroit's west side, Wonderful Wayne would be murdered, shot multiple times. Word of his death traveled fast. He was a very high-profile member of Young Boys Incorporated. And there was a lot of talking in the streets, but a lot of people felt like they already knew who was responsible for the murder of Wonderful Wayne, and that would be Butch Jones and the A-Team.
I always came with love. I always came where is ain't gonna be no violence. But on the same token, I let a person know, now, I'm coming to you. Now, the next guy that I send, he's not gonna talk. He's gonna be some action. He gonna bring the drama.
He also had issues with Raymond Peoples, who was his friend, but
Raymond
they fell out
Peoples
over
was
money
fine.
and who was gonna have power over the YBI. And the back and forth between
Look,
them
he was
and
Don
beefing with crews
John.
from around
Look
the
at
city
that.
would ultimately bring heat from law
Don
enforcement.
King.
The bloodshed and the murders would ultimately be the demise of the YBI. And when undercover police officer William Green was killed by a member of Young Boys Incorporated during an undercover raid, there was nowhere for them to hide. In December of 1982, the feds came and 41 members of the YBI would be arrested, including the infamous A-Team, except for Kurt McGirt. He would go on the run and be labeled public enemy #1 as a teenager.
I remember that.
Have a citywide manhunt put out for him by the Detroit police.
Yep.
Even the mayor of the city would put out statements saying how important it was to catch Kurt.
Yep, I remember that. He home now.
And sentenced to 25 years in prison for the shooting of Gregory Kendricks and the murder of Joseph Brown. According to Kurt McGirt, he felt like his OGs in the YBI did him dirty because the lawyer they provided for him, he feels like that's the reason he got all that time, like they set him up for a fall. Raymond Peoples would receive 3 years, and Butch Jones, he would go on the run. But he would turn himself in March of 1983 and be sentenced to 12 years in prison for continuing a criminal enterprise. And it said that he told on his right-hand man, Sylvester Seal Murray, in order to get a lesser sentence. Butch Jones would continue to run his organization from federal prison through phone calls with his wife. And Raymond Peoples, he would continue to run his faction of the YBI as well from prison, and the two would continue to beef. From behind bars, Raymond would plan a hostile takeover of Butch's faction of the YBI, and one of the things that he planned was to rob one of Butch's main stash houses. The robbery was a failure, and one of the men that Raymond sent was shot in the act. But instead of calling the police, the men who shot him, they took him down to the basement, a place that Butch and his crew were known for, and they loved to use baseball bats to get the information they needed. But once you went down in the basement, you weren't coming out. Everyone involved with this attempted robbery would lose their lives. And when Raymond Peoples was released from prison in the spring of 1985, his family says that he was trying to make a change and he wanted to leave the streets behind. He had gotten married and he got his real estate license, but his past would ultimately catch up to him. And in August of 1985, as he sat in his car on the west side of Detroit, he was shot multiple times, ending the YBI heroin generation and introducing the Detroit crack era. People like Big Ed Hansard, the Curry brothers, Demetrius Holloway, Maserati Rick and the infamous Best Friends gang, amongst others, would all be running Detroit for years to come.
Facts.
By 1986,
Facts.
Butch Jones
Facts.
would completely lose his hold on the drug trade in Detroit from behind bars due to new charges being brought against him that he had to fight. So he was in federal prison, just waiting for his next opportunity at freedom. And when he was released in 1992, he proclaimed to be a changed man. He wrote a book about his time as a YBI boss that he said was a cautionary tale to keep kids away from gangs and drugs. But some people called it a money grab, and they said it was an opportunity for him to brag about his time in the streets. But Butch said that wasn't true, and that he really did want to help young kids in the community. But Butch was back to his old ways. In 1994, he created a new gang where he would be the undisputed boss. He would call his new crew the Dog Pound, and he was the top dog. They were just as ruthless and violent as the YBI. Butch would make hundreds of thousands of dollars a day through his drug operations. He had multiple spots on Monterey and a stronghold on the Willard Motel. In his empire,
The Willard Motel, was that down in Cass Corridor?
Spots where we hooking up at. You know, I'm running through a kid.
Your pet died. I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm making more money, man, than the president. I'm really living the American dream.
Yo, well, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. I got to go to work in the morning. See y'all later. That's part 2. It's going to be a 3, 4. I'm going to put this all, make this a series of Detroit legends. Oh, we got a whole lot of Detroit street legends. Thank you, Mason. All right. Love y'all. Like, share, subscribe. Hit that like button. See